Elif Batuman, there are a couple of questions we ask all our authors. What was the book that got you into reading? And it sounds like you grew up in a house full of books.
I did. The first book that got me interested in reading is, I'm going to go with Frog and Toad Are Friends by Arnold Lobel, which was the first book that I read by myself when I was 3. My father taught me how to read with that book. And I was just fascinated by Frog and Toad. There's just a very specific and not entirely healthy dynamic between Frog and Toad, where Toad is kind of the neurotic one and Frog is sort of the enabler. And Toad has a lot of anxiety about losing Frog, and Frog doesn't really have that anxiety. You know, he's a more sort of optimistic, well-adjusted being. And I read those books at the time that I was starting to go to preschool, and I was an only child, so this was my first interaction with, you know, real socialization. And I was learning that, you know, in every friendship, there's one person who's a little bit more invested than the other, and like you bring out different things in each other, and one person is more like Frog and one person is more like Toad. And I think there was some aspect of seeing that represented that was extremely exciting for me.
All right, let's move on to the book that you're jealous of, the book that you'd like your name on the front of it. Is it a Russian book?
Oh man, this is such a tough question, because I think for a lot of writers, the reason that you keep writing is because you think, probably completely unrealistically, that you're going to write a book that's going to like resolve all of your problems, that's going to just like sort of fix everything and make sense of all the things you've been thinking about. You know, I did think of a Russian book. I thought of how pleased with myself I would be if I'd written Anna Karenina. And I mean, that would be a wonderful feeling, but I was also thinking, you know, that book didn't solve all my problems. Maybe it solved all of Tolstoy's problems, but it didn't even solve his problems, because after he wrote it, he had this like massive spiritual crisis, and he later sort of, you know, kind of recanted it. And then I thought, okay, well, who's someone who I think really did write the book that resolved their issues? And the person who I came up with was Adrienne Rich and her essential essays. Adrienne Rich, I just think she's such a cool, aspirational, inspirational person. But I think that's what I admire. That I think the books that I wish I'd written are all super personal books where the person manages to sort of metabolize their personal experience into something more universal. So that's what I'm jealous of.
And what's the book that you recommend the most or give to people the most?
Oh, well, if I could wave a wand and make everyone have read some book, it would be For Your Own Good by Alice Miller. Who was a Swiss psychoanalyst. You know, like Freud, she talks about the importance of early childhood and how that's key in determining our lives. But her break from Freud is to look at that only from the perspective of the child, and not to sort of justify it or, you know, interpolate the adult's perspective. Basically, she's addressing this question, which has been huge in America since 2016. And I imagine with Brexit, I mean, it's a question everywhere all over the world now, which is, why do people vote against their best interests? And Alice Miller's answer to that would be, I think, that the connection between my best interests and what's good gets scrambled at a really early age, especially in cases of abuse, but really for everyone, just because of the systemic nature of childhood. So I just think that would be a really useful book for people to have read.
Big read. Very good recommendation. Thank you so much for talking to us and for sharing your recommendations.